The text from my sister arrived 3 weeks before her wedding. Mom thinks you should be an usher instead of a bridesmaid. Makes more sense since you're not in a relationship. Plus we need someone responsible at the door. I stared at the message for a full minute before responding. I'm your sister. And you'll still be part of the day. Just in a different role. Bridesmaids are all couples now. It'll look better in photos. Better in photos. That phrase had defined my sister Chelsea's entire wedding planning process. Everything calculated for Instagram perfection, social media engagement, and the appearance of a flawless life. I was 28, single by choice, and apparently unsuitable for the aesthetic Chelsea was curating. The usher position is actually really important, my mother explained when she called that evening. Her voice had that practiced cheerfulness that signaled a decision had been made and my feelings about it were irrelevant. You'll greet guests, hand out programs, make sure everything runs smoothly. Chelsea needs someone organized and capable. Someone you can hide at the entrance instead of featuring in wedding party photos, I said flatly. Don't be dramatic, Lauren. This is Chelsea's day. She wants everything perfect, and having an odd number of bridesmaids would throw off the symmetry. I understood perfectly. Chelsea was marrying Brandon Whitmore, whose family owned a hotel chain and had connections throughout the city's business elite. The wedding was being planned as a social showcase, with every detail designed to impress. My lack of a significant other made me a visual liability. All the bridesmaids are bringing dates, Chelsea had explained at her bridal shower. It would look strange having you standing alone in the photos. This way you're still involved but not awkward. Awkward. That was the word my family had settled on to describe my single status and unconventional career. While Chelsea had pursued marketing and landed a position at her future father-in-law's company, I'd taken a different route. International relations degree. Work with various NGOs. Careful career building in diplomatic circles that my family neither understood nor valued. Still doing charity work? My uncle had asked at Thanksgiving, making my career sound like a hobby. Something like that, I'd replied. The truth was more complex. For the past 14 months, I'd been serving as the youngest UN ambassador for human rights, appointed after my refugee crisis mediation work caught the Secretary General's attention. At 28, I represented the United States at the United Nations on critical humanitarian issues. I hadn't told my family. Not after Chelsea's engagement party, where my mother introduced me as our other daughter, still figuring things out. Not after the bridal shower where Brandon's mother said, "It's wonderful that you have hobbies to keep you busy." My diplomatic work wasn't a hobby. It required security clearances, international travel, and discretion about my role and responsibilities. But my family had decided I was unsuccessful and unsuitable for prominent display at Chelsea's perfect wedding. The morning of the ceremony, my mother handed me a simple black dress. For ushering. Nothing too fancy. You want to blend in, not distract from the bridal party. And Lauren. Her expression turned serious. Please don't mention your work during the reception. Brandon's family has important guests attending. Just say you work in international consulting or something vague. I'd been instructed to minimize myself completely. The wedding was held at the Whitmore Grand Hotel, the flagship property of Brandon's family business. 300 guests. Professional photographers. A ceremony designed for wedding magazines. I arrived early wearing the plain black dress, carrying programs. The wedding planner, Vivian, pointed me toward the entrance. You're the usher? Good. Stand here. Smile. Hand out programs. Stay out of the photographer's way during the processional. Understood. And try not to look too present. This is about the bride and wedding party. I took my position watching guests arrive in designer clothes and expensive jewelry. Business associates. Chelsea's sorority friends. Family members who'd spent months planning their outfits for social media. No one really looked at the usher. I was functional furniture. The ceremony began with practiced precision. Bridesmaids in rose-colored gowns walked down the aisle with groomsmen. Couples. Symmetrical. Photograph perfect. Chelsea looked beautiful. Brandon looked happy. My parents beamed with pride at their successful daughter marrying into prominence. I stood at the back near the doors holding programs and watching my family celebrate everything I apparently wasn't. The reception followed in the grand ballroom. Vivian directed me to help with guest management. checking name cards, directing people to tables, handling seating adjustments. "You're good at this," she said, surprised. "Very organized and diplomatic." "I've had practice." The wedding party made their grand entrance. First dance. Parent dances. Toasts from the best man and maid of honor, emphasizing Chelsea and Brandon's perfect partnership and bright future. My mother's toast came next. She became emotional discussing Chelsea's journey, her excellent decisions, her ability to find a matching partner. Chelsea has always known what she wanted and gone after it. She's built a beautiful life, and today we celebrate her success. One daughter had succeeded. The other was still figuring things out. I stood near the entrance, ready to handle guest needs, watching my family celebrate without including me. My phone vibrated. A text from Secretary General Antonio Guterres's office. "Ambassador Barrett, your speech at tomorrow's General Assembly has been moved to afternoon session. Security briefing at 0800. Human Rights Resolution vote confirmed. Ambassador Barrett." My official title that my family knew nothing about. The reception continued. Dinner. More toasts. Chelsea and Brandon cut their cake while photographers captured every angle. Then Brandon's father took the microphone. "Before we continue, I want to acknowledge some distinguished guests who've joined us tonight." He began reading names. CEO of this company. President of that organization. A state senator. Each stood to polite applause. "We're particularly honored to have several international business leaders present. Our hotel chain operates globally, and these relationships matter tremendously." The ballroom doors opened. 4 people in formal attire entered, led by a security detail. I recognized them instantly, UN Diplomatic Corps members. Colleagues I worked with regularly. Ambassador Chin from Singapore. Ambassador Okafor from Nigeria. And leading them, Deputy Secretary General Maria Santos. My stomach dropped. They scanned the room, clearly searching. Ambassador Chen's eyes found me near the entrance and her face lit up. "There she is," I heard her say. They approached directly, moving past confused guests. Vivian stepped forward to intercept them, but the security credentials stopped her cold. Deputy Secretary General Santos reached me first, smiling warmly. "Ambassador Barrett, we apologize for the intrusion, but we have an urgent matter requiring your attention." Every conversation stopped. Every head turned toward the entrance where I stood in my plain black usher dress, surrounded by UN diplomatic officials. My mother's face went white. Chelsea froze by her cake. Brandon's father looked utterly confused. "I'm sorry," Vivian said weakly, "but this is a private wedding." "I'm Deputy Secretary General Maria Santos of the United Nations." Santos interrupted politely but firmly, presenting credentials. "I'm here to speak with Ambassador Lauren Barrett regarding tomorrow's Emergency General Assembly session." He turned back to me. "Ambassador Barrett, the Human Rights Resolution has encountered unexpected opposition. We need your input tonight to finalize our position before tomorrow's vote. The Secretary General specifically requested you lead the negotiations." Ambassador Okafor stepped forward. "Your mediation work on the refugee accord is being used as the framework. No one else has your expertise on this intersection of human rights law and international humanitarian standards." "Of course," I managed. "Give me 20 minutes to brief the family." "Actually," Ambassador Chin interjected, "we need you immediately. The Secretary General is waiting via secure video conference. Your ambassador pin and credentials are in the car." She held up a leather case, opening it to reveal the official UN ambassador identification and the distinctive blue and gold ambassador's pin I'd left at home. The pin flashed under the ballroom lights. Unmistakable. Visual. Vivian swayed on her feet, gripping a chair. Her face had gone gray. "Ambassador," she whispered. "U.S. Ambassador for Human Rights at the United Nations," Santos confirmed. "Ambassador Barrett has been instrumental in several critical resolutions this year. Her refugee crisis mediation earned her this position at 28, youngest ambassador currently serving." My family stood frozen. My mother's mouth hung open. Chelsea looked slapped. Brandon's father was frantically whispering to someone. My father found his voice. "Lauren is an ambassador? To the United Nations. For the past 14 months, Santos confirmed." "She hasn't told you?" "We thought she did charity work," my mother said weakly. Ambassador Okafor looked genuinely puzzled. Ambassador Barrett's diplomatic work has been featured in the International Herald Tribune. Her mediation in the Southeast Asian refugee crisis was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Nobel Prize. Chelsea's voice came out as a squeak. Nominated, I clarified. I didn't win. Yet, Ambassador Chen added. Your current work on the human rights framework might change that. Santos checked her watch. Ambassador Barrett, we really must go. The car is waiting. Of course. I looked at Chelsea. I'm sorry to interrupt your reception. Congratulations on your marriage. You're leaving, my mother asked, voice rising. But you're the usher. I'm an ambassador, Mom. When the UN calls, I respond. Santos's expression cooled. With respect, ma'am, tomorrow's vote affects humanitarian protections for approximately 4 million displaced persons. Ambassador Barrett's expertise is critical. Family celebrations can wait. The rebuke was gentle but unmistakable. Vivian slowly sat down. I made an ambassador hand out programs, she whispered. I told an ambassador to blend in. You didn't know, I said. No one did. Brandon's father approached cautiously. Ambassador Barrett, we had no idea. If we'd known about your position, the seating arrangements would have been completely different. Would have been what? I asked quietly. Better for photographs. More impressive for your business contacts. He looked embarrassed. Chelsea found her voice, tears streaming. Lauren, I'm so sorry. If I'd known you were an actual ambassador, I never would have made you an usher. You should have been maid of honor. Been valued as your sister regardless of my title? I finished gently. That's the problem, Chelsea. Your respect was conditional. My mother reached for me. We didn't understand. You were always so vague. I've been serving my country and representing humanitarian interests at the highest levels of international diplomacy. But because it wasn't visible in ways you valued, you decided it didn't matter. Ambassador Chen touched my arm. Ambassador Barrett, the car is waiting. I addressed the ballroom one final time. Enjoy the rest of the reception. The diplomatic delegation escorted me out, security clearing a path through stunned guests. The UN car was waiting, flags mounted on the hood. My credentials and ambassador pin were in the leather case. I fastened the pin to my plain black usher dress. Now it carried the distinctive blue and gold seal of a United Nations ambassador. Your family genuinely didn't know? Ambassador Okafor asked as we drove away. I never told them. After they made clear they didn't respect my career path, I stopped trying to explain. Santos shook her head. Their loss. You're one of the most effective ambassadors currently serving. The Secretary General specifically requested you for tomorrow's negotiations. My phone buzzed with messages. Chelsea, please come back, we need to talk. My mother, Lauren, we had no idea, please forgive us. Brandon's father, would love to discuss your work. I silenced the notifications. We arrived at the UN building. Inside, I changed into formal ambassador attire, fastened my credentials, and prepared to brief the Secretary General on tomorrow's critical vote. This was where I belonged. Not standing at wedding entrances. Not minimizing myself for family comfort. But here, using my expertise to make actual differences. My phone continued buzzing. Frantic apologies from Chelsea. My mother's devastated explanations. But there was also a message from Secretary General Guterres. Ambassador Barrett, your preliminary analysis was brilliant. You've become invaluable to this organization. Thank you for your service. I looked at that message, then at the stream of apologies from family who'd only valued me once they learned my title. Tomorrow I would address the General Assembly. I would negotiate humanitarian protections. I would represent my country and advocate for millions of vulnerable people. Chelsea's wedding video would forever include the moment UN officials arrived to collect their ambassador from her usher position. The moment Vivian nearly fainted. The moment my family realized they'd been hiding someone whose work actually mattered. I raised my briefing materials in a silent toast. To secret achievements. To knowing your worth. To justice served by diplomatic reality. And to the look on Vivian's face when the ambassador pin flashed and she realized the woman she'd told to blend in represented the United States at the United Nations. Some successes don't fit in wedding party photos. They're captured in General Assembly records and humanitarian policy that changes lives. My family was learning that lesson the hard way. And the timing couldn't have been more perfect. The briefing lasted 3 hours. We finalized the negotiating position, identified compromise points with opposing delegations, and prepared contingency strategies. My analysis of the humanitarian law framework proved decisive in shaping our approach. When we finished, Ambassador Chen walked me to the ambassador's lounge. "You handled that family situation with remarkable grace," she said. "I would have been furious. I admitted. For years. But tonight proved something important. My work speaks louder than their dismissal ever could." My phone showed 43 missed messages now. Wedding guests had apparently posted about the dramatic UN arrival on social media. Chelsea's perfect wedding was trending, but not for the reasons she'd planned. The headline one guest had shared read, "Wedding Usher revealed as UN ambassador in stunning reception interruption." I smiled, finally allowing myself to feel the satisfaction I'd suppressed all evening. Sometimes justice arrives with diplomatic credentials and a security escort. Sometimes it arrives exactly when your family needs to see it most.